We have tariffs, which are likely sort of unambiguously a negative growth policy. You have fiscal spending, while the magnitudes are a bit ambiguous, is clearly moving in one direction, which is that spending is getting cut. Combination of DOGE efforts, let's call it internal administration efforts, combined with Congress, who is taking steps to cut back on spending, particularly to a variety of different programs for lower income folks like SNAP and Medicaid. That's a pretty negative environment. You mentioned tax policy, right? Tax policy, there's a lot of talk about sort of a big tax cut.
Right.
Particularly when it comes to the extension of what's called the TCJA, which
the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act.
Right, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which sort of more commonly is known as the Trump tax cuts back when he was in his first administration. One of the things that's important to recognize there is that those tax cuts are already current law. So if they get extended, they'll have no effect. Essentially, by extending the tax cuts, all you're doing is ensuring that there wouldn't be a tax hike occurring, but you actually are not getting any meaningful tax relief, which is important. So there's a zero effect of the tax cut extension. And then finally, let's put it on the board as tariffs, meaningful drag, spending cuts somewhere between a modest to moderate drag, tax cuts, zero. And then you have a Fed, which is slow moving in an environment of elevated inflation where they're going to be behind the curve. Let's just say that. So it's going to take a lot of pain before they start to really move to ease. That combination of things is pretty bad in terms of I hate to be the bearer of bad news here, but if you don't think about it as what you prefer to have happen in terms of the economy, just think about the macroeconomic mechanics and what the effects are of each one of those different pieces. And when you look at each one of those different pieces, with the sort of eye that a doctor would look at a patient's blood work or something like that, you see basically that that's netting out to something that's pretty negative in the short term.